We are going to make a CIM container using the milling machine, and I want to talk about how to go about that in this video. We're going to start with a piece of stock that is shown here. So it's a 3 by 3 inch front and 2-inch deep rectangular prism. That's going to be our stock, and we're going to mill it in a certain way, and the reason we're going to do that is associated with our need to be able to secure this piece in a vise. So with 3D printing, we have to worry about things like the temperature of the base plate or the physical condition of the base plate, which it can be a pain, as we know, to get things to work well. We don't really have that problem when we're milling with subtractive manufacturing, but we do need to secure the workpiece securely in the vise. And to do that, we're going to leave a section in the center of the stock unmilled, and that's going to serve as our means of securing it to the vise. Let me show you what I mean by that. So this is a cross section of the milled box, a very simple box, and it looks a little unusual now, but let me just try to explain. In the very center we've got this thing we're going to call a clamping boss. So this is a 1.5 inch wide region that is not milled, and so it allows us to securely clamp the workpiece. And we're going to mill the container bottom on one side, and here you can see the interior of the bottom. We've got this thing which we're going to call a lip, which will accommodate the top, which is going to go over the top, as we'll see. And then this is just the side of the exterior of the bottom. And this is the container top. So if you can imagine, the container top is going to be on this side, the bottom on up here, and we're going to have to cut it down the middle right here with a bandsaw, flip them over, and then the container top will fit over the bottom and go right down along the sides of the lip, and it'll fit securely. So to summarize, we're going to have this piece of stock, and we're going to clamp it into the vise, and we're going to mill the bottom. We're going to take it out of the vise, turn it over, and mill the top, and then we're going to cut it in half, turn it over, and have our box. And then we'll face mill back the remaining part of the clamping boss. Okay, so if this doesn't make sense at this point, hopefully it will as we proceed through this video. So let's take a look at, again, kind of a high-level overview. So we're going to create some stock, 3 by 3 by 2. We're going to first create the container's bottom. So we're going to make a sketch, and then we're going to extrude the outside walls. We're going to extrude the outside walls because our stock, we can't be sure, is a specific size, but if we make the outside walls of our box smaller than our stock, then we know that we can precisely and accurately define how big it is, because we don't want to use the outside of the stock as part of our final part, because we don't really know exactly how what its size is. We're going to sketch and extrude a lip on which the top will sit. We'll see that in a minute. And we're going to sketch and extrude the interior of the bottom, and then we're going to create the container's top. And a key thing about this design in terms of Inventor is that we're going to project all the work we do up here in number 2 with the bottom. We're going to project that geometry to the other side of the stock so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can use that existing geometry and tweak it a little in order to make the top. So once we project some of the geometry associated with the bottom, we're going to project it to the other side and extrude the outside walls again, just like we did right here. And then we're going to sketch and extrude the interior of the top so that it fits over the bottom's lip. Okay, so I may refer back to this to keep us on track as we proceed. Okay. So this is a dimension drawing of the stock. So the first thing I want to do is make this stock to remind you of some important things to keep in mind when making the stock, and then we'll proceed with the remainder of the box or container. So I'm going to create a new part, and remember, when we're milling, we want to have our features on the XY plane, and we want to extrude those features downward into the negative Z direction. So if we look at our little coordinate system here, we want to make our sketch again on this XY plane and go back in this direction. So let's do that. So we've done this before, I think. So I'm going to make a rectangle here that is 3 by 3. And finish the sketch, recenter it, and I'm going to extrude in the negative Z direction 2 inches, and that's our piece of that's our stock. So let me save this. I'm going to call this CIM Container 2, since 1 I've already did for practice. Now we're going to work on the bottom on this plane here. Okay, so I'm going to place a sketch on this face, which is the front, which is going to be the bottom part. Now, as I think I mentioned earlier, possibly, or maybe I haven't, but I will now, project geometry and offset are the key Inventor design tools we're going to use. So the first thing I want to do is I want to project the geometry of the outside edge onto my sketch plane. Inventor doesn't do that by default, so we want to do that. And then we want to keep things simple. We want to just offset from the outside a distance of 1/8 of an inch, 0.125, and that will allow us to get rid of any imperfections in the stock, which is going to be cut on my table saw or on our bandsaw in the back room. So it's not very precise, so we can't use that again as a part of our box if we want it to be accurately dimensioned. So what we want to do here now is just finish the sketch, and we're ready to extrude the side faces of the bottom. So let me get a little closer. I'm going to extrude this region here, and I'm going to make it a cut, and I'm going to go down 0.75 inches like that. So this is the outside of the bottom of the container. I've left some region here for the clamping boss, as I mentioned earlier, and now I want to define this lip on which the top will fit over. So let me make another sketch here, and again I want to project the edges of that feature onto my sketch plane, and again I want to pull in a distance to define the lip, and you might think of, I'm going to go in 1/4. you might think of this part here as the ledge, as you'll see in a minute. So I've just extruded in the beginning of the lip. So let me just finish or continue, and I think you'll see what's going on here. So I want to now extrude here, and I want to go back the other way, but only a distance 0.25. And now I've got my bottom 2/3 of the way there, so to speak. So this is the outside of the bottom that you'll see when the container is put together. This is the lip here. This is kind of a ledge on which the top will sit. And now what I want to do is make the interior of the box, the region that's, the space. And what I want to do first, however, is I want to fillet these corners here, because remember, while I can make an arbitrarily tight curve or corner, so this from an outside feature with the milling machine, since something's got to go over the top of this, I can't, and that's going to be an interior fillet or interior space, I can't do an arbitrarily small fillet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep things nice and big. This is a practice container, and I'm going to look for fillet, and I'm going to go with a 1/4 inch fillet, since we're going to be using a 1/2 inch end mill. So I'm going to come around and I'm going to fillet each of these parts here. And if I step back, and now hopefully you can see that when I put the top over this part, I'm gonna be able to fit it over there, because my this little chunk that stands proud, the lip as we'll call it, has a rounded edge here, which is consistent with the finite size of a rounded corner for an interior space, which will be on the lid. So let's continue, and maybe that'll make more sense. So I'm going to make my sketch here. I'm going to again project the geometry so that I have this outside edge to work with. And once again, I'm going to use offset, and I'm going to pull in I'm going to pull in 0.25 again. And yeah, that's good enough. So you can see that I've brought it in a little bit, so much that the fillet sort of goes away, but we don't really care about that fact, as we'll see for the interior. So let me finish here, and I'm going to extrude in here. I'm going to make a cut, and I'm going to go 0.5 inches deep. Okay, so let's see where we're at. So this is the outside of our box bottom. This is sort of a ledge on which the top will sit. This is our lip to sort of catch it and keep the lid aligned with everything and nice and tight. And this is the interior of the box. Again, a 1/2 inch down. Out here we're 3/4 of an inch. We can check that if we go inspect distance. Oh, I didn't go far enough there. So let me go back to this extrusion, right click, edit feature. No, that is okay, 0.75. Oh, that's right, I came down too far there. Okay. Fair enough. That's good enough. Okay, so that is the bottom, and in the next video we'll complete the top, and then we'll split it and turn it around and put them together to complete a container.